3,
Yes, he did.
2,
The girl, CJ, and me took
1.
Yeah, he did.
Eyes here. Everyone on a calculator. So yesterday, remember we talked about the crickets chirping outside.
Yeah, so what the hell? We were not meeting out there? I went there and there was no one there.
Oh, sorry about that.
We're supposed to go on Friday.
All right. So answer me this question. Did anybody write down what the equation was?
It's not hers.
What was the equation? What was the equation? Anyone write it down yesterday? No?
I'm X.
There was an equation we made. What was it?
A. I'll just shut up.
You're doing fine, kid. Just shouting out random things might not be what we're looking for, but hey. Yeah. So, I think I have everything
X
here.
plus B.
Oh yeah, MX plus B.
Right, but we had done the equation yesterday.
I don't remember that.
All right, fortunately I have it here.
Was I
So it was y equals 3.5x plus 20.77. All right, ladies and gentlemen, settle down.
B, shut up.
Don't tell me shut up.
We'll tell you to
Oh,
shut
we're
up.
right. 20 points. You're fine. Totally fine. All
Boy, girl.
right. Shh.
No white boy.
Okay, this was the equation from yesterday with the chirping crickets. Okay, if we recall, as the temperature increased, crickets chirp more per minute than if the temperature decreases. Okay, so this is chirping per minute. Okay? So think about what our slope is. Our slope right now, if you had looked at our point, any of our points, let's say we had 20.88.6, that was 1 point, and I'm just picking another point, so 19.8, and 19.8 was at 93.3. All right, so looking up here, what seems to make sense, which would be temperature and which would be the chirping? X is temperature or is Y temperature?
I think Y's.
This makes sense because 88.6, that's, so I have temperature as a Y and I have chirps as an X. Agree? So let's think about what is the slope of that equation. And again, we made that equation yesterday from our information on that sheet. So what does my slope represent? And just you have to remember this. Slope is the difference in the y's over the difference in the x's. So what's my y value? What does y represent in this problem? It's up there on the board. Yeah.
20, 19.8.
Right. So the 20 and the 19.8, that's our x value. So those are the chirps. Right now, I want us to figure out, we have a slope right here. Agree?
Oh, it's 20.77.
Okay.
That's the y-intercept.
That's the y-intercept. But what does the slope mean in the context of this problem?
3.5 over 1.
Okay, 3.5 over 1. You're absolutely right. What does 3.5 over 1 mean in the context of this problem?
The slope.
There's 3.5 chirps per minute.
3.5 chirps per minute? No. Okay, so remember, slope is the y value over the x value. It's the y value over the x value. So it's the y value over the x value. What does the y value mean in the context of this problem?
Temperature.
Temperature. So For every 3.5 degrees the temperature increases, the cricket chirps one more time. That's it. Does that make sense how I just went through that? It was a longer process, but so for every 3.5 degrees our temperature goes up, our cricket will chirp one extra time per that. Okay? Is that real? Yeah, sure. Crickets chirp more the warmer it gets. Okay? So supposedly this was off the AP exam for statistics, which is kind of cool. So in Algebra 1, you're doing an AP statistics problem. All right, now, Ethan said this is our y-intercept, and I totally agree with that. So what does this mean in the context of our problem? So 0,
The temperature.
comma, 20.77. So what is my x value?
Chirp.
Chirps. What's my y value?
Temperature.
So what does 20.77 mean as a temperature?
There were 0 chirps at.
Good.
temperature 20.
That's exactly right. When it was 20.77 degrees outside, pretty chilly, no chirps based on our model. Okay? Now we just spent pretty much a day and a half on just that one problem, but we unpacked a lot of information. So I have this, what I want to give you is, okay, this is going to be some more practice with these. And I think we're going to figure these out pretty well.
No. Your back is open.
2, 3,
Close it.
4, 5. Okay. And how I want to walk through these problems 4 is I want to, on the very first problem, I want to give you all 5 minutes to start it. You have 5 minutes to start the first problem, okay? You're going to use the graphing calculator. I want to give you 5 minutes. So at 12:17, I'm jumping in. Okay? But you got to give me 5 real minutes. You got to see if you can start sawing through these. Okay? Ask your neighbor if you can't remember. Now, this doesn't mean you're going to sit on a desk and sit there and chat with each other and say, sweet, we're not doing anything. And I'm going to be like, the British and act like someone's going to come bail me out. No, we're not going to do that. We're actually working for this, okay? See if you can figure it out. See if you can practice it, because you do have a test. And you will have to do this come Friday. Yeah.
I've forgotten what the independent variable is.
X.
Wait, but is it the thing that changes?
Good.
Is there
That's dependent variable.
Yeah, I will give that to you. Missing you, man.
They took me out of class yesterday and I'm still gonna get a mail.
Cool.
Watch me.
And I'm going to do 100
100. Yeah.
Is that what they said? So you would need to come in.
I forgot how to do this.
Was Logan just like, are you
She's just like, well, teacher said you're under the influence. And stared at me in the eyes for like 3 minutes. And I was just like, no.
Is your English teacher right now?
Yeah. So I wasn't even under the influence though.
7.
I'm like, please breathalyze me or whatever.
I went down and I talked to him.
Right?
I said, what happened?
Second.
Guess you fell asleep in English?
Yeah, I fell asleep.
Okay. You win. You win.
I don't know, but kids sleep in class like all the time. There's like 3 other kids sleeping. I don't think they were. Yeah, I don't think they were.
How did you get there?
I think it's just because I look like a kid who'd be under the influence.
Yeah, stop.
Even though I do not.
Ethan, get me working on this, please. You can discuss this later with whomever you would like, but not now. 2 more minutes of honest work, please. Yes.
I don't know how to put this thing back.
You smack it with your mouth. There's a screw on the
Now
rim.
Yeah.
It's under the influence.
How do you get there equals, right?
That's not good.
No, it really ain't gonna work. All right.
You can tape it.
You broke it.
Stirrup did it.
No, it's not. Okay, I just joined your skin. Don't join this.
Who did Ethan? I was aiming for Elizabeth because she threw a gum wrapper at me.
So I would do the same thing.
I like this photo. Where's the phone?
Revenge.
Ethan, we're not too far off from being how I was in high school.
It's expensive.
I think that's why
I didn't check my.
I think that's why I like you so much.
Did you listen to a lot of KK in high school?
Yeah, that's something you don't know.
Not much about. You listen to a lot of 21.
I think it's a rat.
In high school,
Hey,
it was Metallica, Motley Crue,
Okay.
Kiss.
Stop.
I guessed it.
I did.
I
I
can
shower
hear
every day.
Metallica, I guess.
It's just like I'm addicted to it.
Exactly, look at that. That's perfect.
I
Yeah,
know.
I saw it.
Minute left and we're gonna start going. Sweet.
You say smooth.
Oh, I got it.
Did you already find the line of business?
Yeah, there is a difference.
Stat, calculate.
Yeah, they're smooth.
See,
Yeah,
like
soft.
regression
No,
for
soft is the-
See, like,
You're
my
soft,
name starts
you're
soft,
soft.
your leg starts smooth.
It's on, cool. So stat.
See, like, my socks.
There. That's what you plug in?
No, my leg starts smooth.
That's what I put on lemon grass.
We're gonna walk all the way to Alright, I'm gonna walk through this first problem. So if you got stuck, some of you are starting to figure it out, which is awesome. Some of you are still stuck, so let's make sure we can do this. So this is my data that I'm going to plug in for that first problem. Agreed? I don't even know what that first problem said. Talks about, looks like the first column is high temperature and then number of cans sold. So convenience store manager notices that sale of soft drinks are higher on a hotter day. So he assembles the data in a table. I much doubt that fellow over at the C-store is doing this, but hey, let's just kind of play with it, okay? All right, so I want to walk through on my calculator and plug in what I know, okay? So because we're using community calculators, if you haven't put anything in yet, I think it might be okay. Let's go to y equals first. Under your y equals, is your plot 1 on?
No.
It isn't? If your plot 1's not on, here's another way to turn it on. If you want to turn it on, you can just go up there and hit enter. I just turned mine off. If I want to turn it back on,
How do you know it's on?
it's dark like that.
Oh.
Are you
Where's
supposed to have it
plot?
on or off?
On
Wait, where's plot at?
top, arrow up. Y equals, arrow up. We good?
No.
Go to your y equals.
What the frick is y equals?
Top left button.
Okay.
And then
Oh!
the arrow.
Arrow up, plot
Here.
1, enter. Is it
Here.
dark like that or no?
Yeah.
Cool, you're good. All right, let's then hit stat. Still with me? I want to plug your data in, man. Maybe you already plugged your data in, but remember, what button am I going to hit when I move it up there? I'm going to hit clear. Clear, clear. Clear is the actual button. Okay, and then you move over to this one. Move it up, hit clear. Move it back down. That got rid of our information there. So
How do you do
then,
it all at once?
huh?
How do you do it all at once?
So you move it up like this, hit clear, and then down arrow.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Is that good? Can we move on? Anyone stuck?
I am stuck.
Where you at? Did you hit? Where did you hit stat and then edit?
Wait, yeah, but then how do I clear?
Okay, so you go to the very top, use your arrow to get up there, and then you hit clear and then down arrow. So if you had stuff in there,
Oh, I understand.
so go all the way up to the top, so where it's like that, hit clear, then down arrow, and it's gone.
Okay.
We good? Everyone ready? All right, so I'm going to put temperature down L1. And remember, if you make an error, use the arrows to move back up. Once you have that data in, go to L2 and put number of cans sold. And I'll wait for y'all to get caught up. Eyes up here when you're good to go. Please.
That's a nice.
Y'all good? Eyes up here? Good? All right. So our data is ready to plug in or to take a look at. We turned our stat plot on, right? Did that originally. We cleared out our old list. We put our new list in. This had to do with the temperature and number of soda cans sold. Okay? All right. So if I want to graph it, if I hit graph right now, I might not see anything. Agreed? Because this is the last window that my calculator had been used on, and it might not have been the right window for the data I have. So I'm going to hit zoom, and then what else am I going to do? Zoom what? Zoom 9, because we put stats in, right? So zoom 9 is going to adjust our window to show our data.
Okay.
Seem okay?
Got them all done.
All right, so it appears that it has a little bit of a linear. Now, in the real world, if you were actually composing data, you would use a lot more data points than what we just had. But this seems to have some sort of positive slope to it. Agreed? Can I say that?
Yeah. You got the water down.
I got the water down.
Okay. So I want to find my equation of my line. How do I find the equation of my line? How do I find the equation of the line? Stat? Calc? So just move over, and then number 4. We want the number 4 linear regression, and then we just arrow down to calculate.
Where's calc?
So under stat, the stat button's by the arrows, and then arrow over to calc,
Oh,
and then number 4. And I don't know if your R values are on or not, but if they are on, you're able to see it. Remember, we just look at R. So this R value says, dude, we have almost a 97% chance that we have the right line of best fit with our data. That's how well it fits with our data. That's pretty good. I mean, think of it as a test score. That'd be a great test score. All right, so my linear equation is y is equal to 16.4x, that's my slope, minus 621.8. All right, so let's talk about what that actually means. I'm going to write this up here.
I would like to report
So item 1, let's identify what my slope is right now.
16.4.
Cool. That's my slope. Okay, so now let's think about this. We know our slope is the y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So these were my y values. This is my x values. So my y values were number of cans of soda sold, and my x values was the increase in temperature. Okay, so let's talk about the slope in the context of this problem. what was the slope? 16.4. So that's 16.4 over 1. So what's the y value? That's the top. What do we have? Look at your paper. So temperature or cans of soda?
Temperature.
Cans of soda. So what does 16.4 mean in the context of this problem? Well, so this is, our y values are cans, and our x value is temperature. So what does 16.4 over 1 mean in the context of this problem? I sell 16.4 cans, more cans, for every 1 degree the temperature is increased. And I know some of you are like, dude, how can you sell 0.4 of a can? Because it's an average. Okay? You didn't find a can with a hole in it. You didn't buy the can of soda that the clerk had been sipping on. Okay, so I bought, because my store sells 16.4 more cans of soda for every 1 degree the temperature increases. Now, what is my b value? My y-intercept? 0, negative 621.8. That's going to be kind of weird. So the x value is what? Temperature or cans? Temperature. So at 0 degrees,
You sell.
I have 621.8 sodas sitting in my fridge to sell. Okay? As the day moves on, you knock those out. Cool. We did it. Independent variable is the temperature. Dependent are the number of cans sold. The equation, we have the equation right there. What does the slope mean? We just said, hey, we sell 16.4 more cans of soda for every 1 degree the temperature increases. What does the y-intercept mean in the context of the problem? At 0 degrees outside, there's 621.8 cans not moving off the shelves. What does the correlation mean in the context of this problem? Okay, let's take a look at the correlation. So my correlation up here is R. R equals 0.97 if I round it to 2 digits. Agreed? So this basically means, 1, it's positive because my slope is positive. Agreed? And we have a strong positive correlation. That's all it means. The closer that R is to 1.00, the better correlation we have. It's strong and it's positive. If it's strong, that means it's in the 90s probably. If it's positive, that means my slope's positive. That's all we're trying to say there. Use the model to predict soft drink sales if the temperature is 95 degrees. Okay, well, let's go back. So, if the temperature outside is 95 degrees, how many sodas do I sell? What do I do with that 95?
Plug it in for X.
Plug it in for X. Why did I put 95 in as an X value? Because temperature was our X. So I'm going to take this 95 and I'm going to plug it in right there. So I'm going to get 16.4. So just, I think you can do this for me on your calculator. Go 16.4 times 95, subtract 621.8. So 16.4 times 95, subtract 621.8. That's all you have to do on your calculator. Use the parentheses if you want.
936.2.
936.2? 936.2. So when it's 95 degrees outside, I'm selling 936.2 cans on average. That seems like a lot of soda. That's kind of hard. That'd be good business to have. Okay, what does the model predict for the temperature if the number of cans sold was only 95? Oh, so now I'm flip-flopping this a little bit. Hang on. So now I'm putting the 95 here. Agree? So what value is that 95 right there? Is it an x or a y? It's a y. So I'm going to take my original linear equation, y equals 16.4x minus 621.8. Okay, agree? And you just told me this is a y value, so I'm going to plug that in right here. Okay, and this is like second week of Algebra 1 right here. So what am I going to do to get x by itself?
Add 6.
Yeah, I'm going to add 621.8. So what's 95 added to 621.8? You guys have the calculators right there. 95 added to 621.8. 716.8. I like it. Equals 16.4 x. Hey, how do I undo 16.4x? Divide. Good. Divide each side by 16.4. So I get x is equal to 716.8 divided by 16.4 is?
43.7.
How much?
43.7.
43.7. So it's 43.7 degrees outside if I'm going to only sell 95 cans of soda. So this is just to give you a little glimpse that there are certain things in math that will allow you to create a model that would allow you to make informed decisions on. Does that make sense? And this isn't just, do I think any of you are going to own a convenience store? I have no idea. One of the smartest guys I went to high school with owns 5 7-Elevens in Texas. And I'm like, how did that dude, I don't think he ever went into a 7-Eleven when we were in school. Now he owns 5 of them? But he's like the smartest dude. His name's Russ Scott. Great guy. But I just remember seeing him at my 20-year high school reunion. This is 10 years ago, so I'm about ready to go to my 30th. And you're like, oh yeah, I own 5 7-Elevens in Texas. I'm like, 1, we grew up in Arizona. What the heck are you doing in Texas? 2, 7-Elevens? Yeah, he's doing great. Life is awesome. I'm okay. So he might use this type of model. I don't know. What do you not want to have happen in your store? You don't want to purchase stuff that you're going to sell that just sits there, right? You want to try and move it out. How do you feel about this stuff? Be honest with me. Do you feel that come Friday, if I'm able to guide you a little bit with these, like if you get stuck on the test going, hey, Mr. Sherp, I can't see my graph. Like I come over and I turn your stat plot on and say, okay, remember hit the zoom button. Would you be able to figure out zoom stat?
No.
I bet you could.
How do you know what you're talking about?
I love you, man. All right, so I would like you on the back side of this to try and plot that information. This sheet comes back tomorrow as well, please. But try and plot that information that's plotted right there. Doesn't look like you can see the last point because it was hole punched. But don't worry about that. So it looks like a study found that the age and blood pressure are related. The data are shown below. So age will be your X, blood pressure will be Y's, or your Y value. And plug those in and see if you can start answering those questions. Okay?
What did you think?
Yay!
Second stat, nope. Second Y, nope. Second, nope. Nope. second.
Okay. Do you just put the date all in?
Nope. How do I get to black?
Oh, hit Zoom. Stat.
9.
Sure. Cool.
You just make the little dots and your step up. Oh, your step up is on. How do I erase that? Oh yeah, I know. I just need to zoom. Plug all that data in. I don't need to.
Alright, cool. So, whenever you go to the very top.
95 and 96. Yeah, that. Second one. Second one? Down. Second over. Second stat.
Yeah, just don't worry about that one. You'll get enough information.
Stat? Yeah.
Don't worry about it. You have enough on your data. So is that
Clear? So you know that, I think this one's 8. Oops.
Ronnie.
What? I don't know what you said. Why are you?
Do a call perfectly.
Excuse me. 45, 65. Oh my god. Second stat. Yeah.
When I do the calculate,
Oh.
it doesn't give me the R.
So we'll turn that back on for you. Second catalog. Under D.
No,
Yeah, because you probably reset it.
No.
Or something like that. I don't know. There you go. Now if you do the same thing, it'll come up again. That's something I could totally make sure that, like on a test, if it's not showing up, don't be like, oh, I guess I missed it. No, totally. Turn that on. I guess that one's 40, right? What? Is this 40? The last one? What? No, it's 80. Okay. So that one's 40. There it is. Yeah, buddy.
My X thing goes on infinitely, so I can't select to delete all.
You're at the table. There we go.
I hate you. Like I Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because we were doing that thing backwards.
Yeah.
Wait, you press Y and then what? Then stat?
Zoom in.
Y to
Change the window to get your data.
Yes. I wouldn't worry about that one. You have enough data there to make the predictions. So then you do seconds, right? To get to the R.
pull up my Seahawks. Dude, these are so hard.
I don't know which kind.
Aww. Guess what I wore these for? Did you just assume my gender? Did you just assume I was just gonna wear these for a girl? Not for a guy?
I'm trying to find
You just
my
assume my gender? No, I'm done with it. Wait, I want to try to hold it.
I'll totally get to it. I want you to focus on it.
Try to suck in as hard as you can. Like, pinch it. Feels so weird.
Diagnostic on. Yeah. Alright, done.